new wind chimes? They sound a lot like those other ones down there on the corner. If they're bothering you, I just think of them as wind chimes. And if we got nothing else out of this work, we sure had learned how to meditate for 15 minutes, haven't we? It's real quiet in here in this group, real fast. So put your books away. No peeking tonight. This is a pop quiz. We're going to do the last chapter of the book, which is Principles. And it's for those of you who've been with us all the way through, or who have read the book all the way through and understand it or remember it or everything, then all these principles should be have meaning for you. So, and if not, why then obviously you just go back and rework with the previous 7 chapters, because all of this was covered in there. And so what we're going to do tonight is I'm going to read to you, and then we're going to bring up each principle and ask people to share what it means to them. And we try to get through 10 this week, and 10 next week, and 10 the 3rd week, and then the 4th week, which is the end of this class. We might have a surprise. Yeah, I can arrange it. So let's try to get through 10 tonight. And see where we are. So the prologue to the first point is as follows. We've done a lot of pointing and gesturing. Now we're done with introducing the letter of truth. This chapter is a collection of spiritual principles and several features that we have found useful to work with. It is, of course, just more pointing, but you may be surprised at how much clearer these principles are than when you began this work. And if you've already gotten a glimpse of the moon, this chapter may help focus it. It's fine to read through this collection, but you will gain the greatest benefit if you work with one principle at a time. Barbara used to give her students flashcards, which they would carry with them for a week. They would then meet every disharmonious situation by pulling out the flashcard and reminding themselves of the truth about the situation. You could write one of these principles on a flashcard, but use it whenever any discomfort arises, again and again, until it becomes part of you, rather than a principle you've memorized. This may take a week, or a month, or a year. But knowing the principle does not change the picture. Owning it does. Then select another one. So it's really true. If you will work with any one of these principles, whichever one appeals to you, and work with it, and work with it, and work with it until you get it, then, and it might take a year, it might take 10 years. But if you really get any one of these, the other 29 will just be transparently obvious, because there's only one principle. So, the first principle is. Joel said that is the most important word in the infinite way. So, what does is mean? How do we use is? What is all about? Share about is, give some insights into is, explain what that principle reminds us of. Didn't hear me? Come on, share, it's a workshop.
Okay.
Jump in.
Well, to me it means God is here now. Not was, not spoken sometime in the future.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm in the now, then I am always fighting in the is. And it is always with me.
Perfect. That's exactly what it means. God is. Ising. Exactly right. Not wasing, not willing. God is not willing. God is ising. What else? Who else has an insight on is? Remember the statement we started out with? All there is consciousness. Yes, there's another is. All there is consciousness. And then it gets fun because is just another word for consciousness. When we say ising, we're just saying consciousness is conscious, or awareness is aware, or what else? Any thoughts on is? Jump in.
Present moment.
Huh?
Present moment.
Exactly, yes. You will never find God in the future. There is no God in your past. Because God is now.
Acceptance.
Huh?
Acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Yeah, what is. That's another good one. I hadn't thought about that one. That's a good one. I'll put that down. Yep. Nothing you can do about it. What is, and here it is.
I am is.
Mm-hmm. Or I is. It's fun.
I like the line about there's what is, and then there's what appears to be.
Mm-hmm.
So it draws the distinction of is beyond all appearance.
Yes.
Invisible, ineffable, indescribable,
Yep.
not perceptual.
Joe called it the infinite invisible. For exactly that reason, by the way, he chose those two words because they had absolutely no meaning for him except one meant really big and the other one meant you can't get a hold of it. And he thought that was a real good way because he was even back then, 60 years ago, concerned about cracking the concepts that people have. He didn't want to use God or Christ or any of those words because everybody knew what those meant. And that's not what he meant. So he started calling it the infinite invisible. So is a good word. All right, and what it said here is, Joel said the most important word in the infinite way is. God is, or ising, being. What is, not was, not will be, is. Yep. We get the same principle from India's Advaita Vedanta. All there is consciousness. Realizing this great fact is the work. Realize that. Not playing with it in our intellect. You all have heard me for years when we're talking about all sorts of things, and I just start saying, here it is. Okay? Here it is. This isn't right here, right now. This is it. All inclusive. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Here it is. Cool. Good. All right. What is omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent. And let's start with, these words have a lot of implications, and so let's start with omnipresent. What does it mean, omnipresent? What does it mean that what is omnipresent?
In everything. In the birds and bees and the chairs and the cats and trees. Present all around.
Not just in.
It is.
It is everything.
It is.
Because there ain't no room for nothing else. If it is everywhere, then there is nothing else that is anywhere. Is that an obvious conclusion from that statement? If your mind is omnipresent, then you're forced into, and even the Orthodox churches all talk about God being omnipresent, they just don't buy the conclusion. Then you're forced to conclude that there is nothing but God. That's what the statement means. I mean, it's a tautology. All it is. Okay. Okay. What is omnipresent because everywhere that is within consciousness, within the consciousness that what is. So what does here mean? That's another good. What does here mean? When you say here, what do you mean?
Not there.
Yeah, but what does it mean more than that?
In the moment?
How do you distinguish between here and there?
Here is the present.
Well, but usually it has a locale sense too. How do you distinguish between here and there, or between now and then? It's the same question. How do you distinguish between the two?
What you're experiencing?
Yeah, here is where I'm conscious. Okay? Yeah. So, the point is that just understand why God is omnipresent. If all there is consciousness, and here is where is conscious, then here is everywhere. Okay? Did that get convoluted? If consciousness is all there is, and here is where I, big I, way big I, is conscious, then I is here everywhere. So it's every here. Everywhere is a mistake. It's every here. That W is extra. Cross that W out of everywhere. It's every here. Okay? Okay, it's what is omniscient. What's that mean? All-knowing. And what does that mean? Knowing all of what?
Of itself.
Huh?
If everything is, then it's knowing itself.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because it is everywhere. It is everything. How can it not be all-knowing? Does it mean it knows the answer to all the problems that haven't yet been asked? Does it mean that it's done all the writing of music that won't be written for 10,000 centuries? All knowledge. Anything else? What's it knowledgeable about?
To bring it down to a lower level doesn't mean God knows our needs.
Or perhaps that God knows we have no needs.
Only if we accept that.
Well, the one who thinks she has needs is obviously not ising, because if is were ising has you, then there would be no needs, because God's probably pretty good at fulfilling its own needs since it's omnipotent, which we'll get to shortly. So, and if is all there is, how can there be anyone who has needs? So the one who has needs is illusory. There can't be anyone who has needs. That's the great illusion. That's the great Leelaa. Great, thank you for pouncing on that right here. That's a good place to bring it up. The one who has needs doesn't exist, can't possibly exist if God is omnipresent and omniscient. In other words, smart enough to know its own needs. Or smart enough to be self-fulfilling. So there can't be anyone who has needs. I understand that we have that, and we have the appearance of that. But clearly, if I think I have a need, I'm hypnotized into believing I'm something that other than God. And if God is omnipresent, there can't be such a thing. Oh well. Yeah.
Can it be said everything is done?
Yeah.
There is no past and future. Everything is.
Everything is.
But in the sense of this illusory life, it only seems to be happening in a temporal fashion. It's already happened. Well, I guess it's the past tense, but it's already done.
It's not happening.
When do you suppose it was completed?
Is
I mean, it's already done sounds pretty temporal to me. Well, just when was it that it was finished? Is that what he did on the seventh day? Was wrap it up? I mean, he spent 6 days creating. The seventh day he must have been finishing it. That's what it was. That seventh day that we claimed he rested, he must have been wrapping it up. Could it ever have been unfinished? Is there anything that could have been unfinished?
Or lacking, or wrong,
Or right, or finished.
or right, finished.
I don't know whether we're losing it or gaining it, but it's cool. And what is omnipotent? How's that? What's that? How's that? Why is that?
Oh, there's no other power.
No other power. It's all powerful.
But since there's nothing to have power over, it's really not.
The next principle is one power, no power. We'll get there just in a minute. In fact, I think we're there. All right.
It's done.
Just to wrap up what was written here, omniscient means all-knowing. What is omniscient? Because being conscious of means knowing in this sense. Nothing that is within nothing is that isn't within consciousness, so nothing is unknown. So God has to be omniscient. And what is omnipotent, because all there is, being all there is, there can't be any other power. So that's just that simple. Hello. I'm glad you're here. We're playing games with spiritual principles. Understanding that all there is consciousness allows us to understand these words that organized religions have been throwing at us, which they themselves neither understand nor believe. Never heard of the Presbyterian ministers saying any of this stuff. All right, the next one is one power, no power. Jump in, Steve. You just covered it. Say it again. If God is one power, the only power.
If God's the only power, and God is all there is, then there's nothing to have power over, so it's virtually no power.
Bingo. That's exactly what that means. And the reason Joel likes to lean on that is because in Orthodox religion they spend so much time trying to get God to exert His power over this or that or situation that needs to be corrected, which apparently he didn't know about.
Yeah.
That's the job.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, one, no power means isn't, or even that's too complicated. No power means is. But let me just comment because it has to do with healing. This is really Joel's first step in healing. An important thing to notice about omnipotence is that it means there is nothing to use power on or against. Omnipotence used to sound like such a powerful word. We love thinking God has all power and maybe we can get to apply His power to our situations. But everything is already done. We're on top of this, aren't we? Even the idea of what is using power to sustain itself is within time. So it's not even, the power doesn't even get used to sustain creation because there's no such thing as sustaining given the fact that it was already done sometime in the past.
But Joel uses the phrase from everlasting to everlasting.
Mm-hmm.
No beginning and end.
Way too many words again.
I know, way too many words.
Because
I understand.
Because of the prepositions.
Yes, yes.
If you just said everlasting,
Yeah.
eternal.
Eternal.
Eternal. Eternal is. Okay. See, I really got this thing in the right order. What is eternal is the next principle. We can do this whole thing tonight, kids. We just take the rest of your points off. What is eternal? Now, what does eternal mean? We get into that a lot in this third chapter. What does eternal mean? How long is eternal? From when to when?
No beginning, no end.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Well, I think the thing that helps me the most with that is when I hear you say eternal is not a very long time.
No, it's not. It's right now. It's neither long nor time. So it can't be a very long time. The point about eternal and about now is that time is within the mind, is within the Leelaa, is within what is. So what is ising, and there's an expression of time and space for people like us, so to speak, so that we can separate and differentiate. But is outside of that, and so eternal means that there is no time there. The time is, there's no such concept, there's no such feature, there's no such function as time. Time is entirely within the mind. I was interested in seeing Hawkins said that too. The other day I was reading Hawkins pointed out that, I mean, space is what we construct in order to see things separately, okay? I mean, so in order to see form, certainly a function of mind is to create form, and in order to see form, we require space to see form. Otherwise, it would be homogeneous. And the minute you have space, time is part of the deal, because you have to shift your eyes from one to the other, or so space and time are the same thing. It's just a different way of looking at it.
I've been thinking about something. I thought this a couple of months ago. Who about half an hour ago, I was
so to speak.
Yeah.
Robert was so beautiful. I mean, he used the expression "so to speak" so many times. And this is exactly what he meant. He meant I'm lying to you, but we got to talk.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Who was driving the car?
Say what?
I was driving over here, so who was driving the car? Did that even happen? Because it's not happening now.
No.
So did it even happen?
Well,
No, not really.
well, of course not. Of course, it couldn't happen really because nothing's happened. Never did happen. Never will happen. But within the Leelaa, there's the appearance of that. But even so, you can't say that it happened. That you were in the car half an hour ago. What you can say is that right now there is a thought in my mind that I label a memory of a half an hour ago in which I was in the car. So even that memory is a now thought, and therefore just a perception.
But it's a memory. And it has to do with mind, yeah.
Yeah, we label things that we label as being past as memories. I don't know what we
Because when I think about that, my mind turns in on itself.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, there's no demonstrable. I mean, clearly everything that's happening is right now, because I'm conscious now, and I'm only conscious now, and so everything that I'm conscious of has to be now. If there's anything that's not now, I can't be conscious of it. Right? So, yeah.
So, in a unique way, that's the ego's way to keep everything attached to you by creating that memory. So when this happened, this is what I felt, this is so the ego has its feeding pen to go back into.
Yeah. Yeah, Robert always called the ego or I, the little I, as just called it the I thought. And the illusion of an I is the result of the endless, unbroken continuity of these thoughts. Okay? There is no I, there's just thinking. And even that's not true because right now what I have is this thought that there's this, up till now, endless succession of thinking that gives me the illusion of there being an I. And Hawkins would also say that the error is that we believe in cause and effect. And since we believe in cause and effect, the fact that there's thinking makes us think that we have to assign a thinker to it. Okay? Because if there's thinking, there must be someone who is thinking. So that's also part of the little I illusion.
Yeah, I remember when that kicked in really strong about 5 years ago, and the whole idea of, journaling to try to remember things from the past, writing down little things that your kids do when you're little to try to preserve some idea of the past, like that all started evaporating and became ridiculous.
I can't imagine anything more ludicrous than nostalgia.
Creating scrapbooks and putting meaning into preserving some past experience.
Yeah,
for what?
That's nonsense,
Yeah.
They always try to get me to go over to the long-timers meeting, and be part of that. And I can't imagine anything I'd like to do less than go over there with all those old farts talking about stuff that happened 30 years ago or 40 years ago. I mean, how useless, What's going on now with you,
Right.
What's going on now? All right, and what is eternal? Not in the sense of a very long time. Eternal is not a time span from very long ago to infinitely far out in the future. Eternal is outside of time. Eternal as in now, the eternal now that is always here. Eternal has nothing to do with time. What is everywhere and every when. If we eliminate our personal sense of self from our consideration, pay no attention to any thinking, stop focusing on what is appearing out there, and become only aware of the awareness that is aware of all this, that awareness is what's eternal. Now, one, unchanging, outside of time. Leelaa is all happening within. Now, did you get that?
I'm aware of the awareness, it's aware of this right now.
Yeah. You get that? Can you? We're not where we can take that step back. It's just a few steps back. Here's Lee, or here's thoughts. And then I can step back and I can watch the thoughts and be the witness consciousness. And then I can step back again and be aware that I'm witnessing the thoughts. And at this point, there's awareness of. And if you can just drop the of, then you've got awareness itself, okay? And that is what's eternal. And, of course, eternal is here now. And that's is. And that's also I. And it's also your I. It's the same I. If I go back, if I take those 3 steps back to being just aware, and you take those 3 steps back to just being aware, it's the same one awareness. Okay? And we both can call it I, and it's the same I, the one I am, the one is. It's ising, okay? So it really is true that I am everyone. That I have to step back 3 times before I can say I am everyone. Okay? There's only one I, and we're all identical. So that's a great place to play and get used to that, because if I do anything to you, I am doing it to myself. I mean, literally. Okay?
Can you say the 3 things again?
The first one is thinking. Okay? The first step back from that is witnessing, getting to where I can watch my thinking, watch the fact that I'm thinking. Okay? Then the step back from that is to be notice that I'm aware of notice that there is an awareness of me witnessing the thinking. Okay? Because so I'm witnessing my thinking, oh, there goes a thought, but while that's happening, there's awareness, I'm conscious of it. Okay, there's awareness of that, okay? And that awareness is the impersonal. That's just awareness. It's not me aware, because that's real. I have to, there are no words there. Okay, that's just the awareness. And if I try to use words, then that awareness is aware of whatever it is that's trying to use words. And if I try to think about it, the awareness is aware of whatever's trying to think about it, So it's just the awareness which is back there that is, and that awareness is what we mean when we say all there is consciousness. It's that awareness, okay? And everything is formed within it. But that's what we're talking about. That's the one I am. And Moses said, I am that I am. And that's what he meant. I am that I am, or this I am, or the I am. That's what that expression that Moses came up with some 500 years ago or so, 3,000 years ago. The revelation was, I am that I am. And I'm sure the amazement was, oh, I'm that I am. Oh, that's this I am, I'm that I am. And that was enough to bust the Israelites out of Egypt. There was so much presence and so much Zen presence in that. So Moses had that awareness. Robert's expression now. You've heard Robert talk about choiceless, effortless, pure awareness. Okay? That's what he's talking about. And that's it. When you really press him about who are you, he would always follow that. Choiceless, effortless, pure awareness. Yeah? Both of you.
The thinking, the witnessing the thinking, and being aware of witnessing the thinking. How does that correlate to the awareness exercise where you move the awareness faculty around and then you become aware of the I, and then the silence behind the
silence behind the I. Sure, it's sort of the same thing.
Sort of the same.
Being aware of the material world is like thinking, and being aware of the I is in her sense, that the I that you become aware of then is the myself with a capital S, as distinct from myself with a small s. It's myself with a capital S, but it's not all the way back yet. And then when she says be aware of the silence behind it, that's the awareness behind it. And there's actually a fourth step there, because I'm aware that I'm witnessing something, okay? But then can you just be aware of the fact that you're aware? Okay? Aware that there is awareness here. That's the choiceless, effortless, pure awareness. But you can't have any words in it while you're reading that.
And you're not going to be aware of it until thought comes, right?
Right, huh? Yeah.
There's nobody there.
There's nobody there. Okay. Moving right along. What is harmonious? What does harmonious mean, and what is harmonious mean? In a big sense, it doesn't just mean that it's not got any problems. What does it mean?
Being all one, isn't it?
Being all one, yes.
Harmony with everything.
Or another way we can say that is in harmony with itself, which is why there can't be any disharmony. It's impossible. We're cooking.
And it goes back to that powerful thing. How can you have power over something? It's all the same thing. So there's no conflict.
Yeah, if you get one of these, you get them all. Yeah, I mean, what would you do? If what is eternally harmonious, there's just not a whole lot of use for power, is there? Don't mess this up. So yeah, and the conclusion that we draw from that is that if we're seeing disharmony, we're hypnotized. We're believing concepts. We're believing. We're conditioned. Yes.
I was thinking of the radio dial thing. You know, like when you go towards it feels like disharmony when you're in the hypnosis of the, you know, it feels chaotic. And then when you're not, and it's just, you can see that, I don't know, that's how
it's really clear, yeah. Or when you're in kid, there's disharmony. When you're in spiritual adult, there's harmony. Because it's the same thing. Kid means tuned to world mind, and spiritual adult means that the station is tuned to God, tuned to what is. So yeah, so what we're talking about there is whether we're aware of the harmony or we're aware of the chaos and turmoil in human consciousness. And that's our choice. It wasn't until we knew it was our choice, but now that we know it's our choice, it's our choice. It's worth getting to where we're always.
The awareness faculty is not, just like a radio, it's not the source. I'm aware of the source, but like when I am, so to speak, the awareness faculty, is that part of your mind, or is it in between mind or what it is, or what? Or is it the receiver for it? But
yeah, it's in the Leelaa, and it's the receiver. It's a faculty that's higher than the six senses of see, hear, taste, touch, smell, think. It's a spiritual faculty. Along with intuition and insight and stuff like that. There are a lot of spiritual faculties, a lot of other stuff that's going on that's of the spiritual being, rather than the human experience.
Because you're still somebody aware of something there, right?
Yeah. And that's still in the Leelaa. I mean, it's the spiritual being, but and that's what we mean by growing in consciousness. We really mean expanding awareness. Expanding the extent to which we're aware of consciousness.
I don't know if this subject is too long to cover but right now. If so, please tell me. But Joel talks about living between two worlds. Mm-hmm. And what does that mean?
Well, there's a book.
Yeah.
And there's 16 hours of Joel classes on that.
So can we talk about that now?
But what it means is the duality of sometimes tuned into us, God, and sometimes tuned into world mind. Or in his case, it was so painful to him because he was perfectly capable of always staying in God, but he kept getting brought back to deal with the 70,000 students and their turmoil. You know. And he was getting less and less happy about that. And he was just about on his way out. That series came out in '63. And that was part of his exit line. In case you don't think people know at Joel's level about when they're dying, in '63 Joel did 16 hours of classes called Living Between Two Worlds. And then he did 5 tapes on instructions on how to teach the infinite way. And then he did a tape on how to run tape groups, and then he did a tape on spiritual healing, okay? And then he went to England and died. So if you think he didn't know what he was doing, he didn't give any of those courses in '62 or '61. I saw him.
Is not accepting appearances harmony?
He is not accepting appearances harmony. It can be, yeah. I mean, if you don't believe the appearance, then it doesn't cause disharmony. Now, harmony is the default. We're not trying to attain harmony, we're trying to dump disharmony. We have to stop letting things cause disharmony, so to speak.
In our minds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In our beliefs, in our whatever. We have to stop believing there's disharmony.
Or just realize that there is no disharmony.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So knowing, recognizing disharmony as part of the hypnotism may not make you feel harmonious until you recognize it at a significant level, until you realize it. But if you are realized, then you never see disharmony.
You never even see it.
Well, you see things that other people would say were disharmonious, but you see it as perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It's that's what it is.
Yeah, some people think they're seeing starving children, and other people see and realize people see beings learning their karma and learning their next spiritual lesson. Cut and dry.
Within acceptance really a factor anymore.
No.
There's no acceptor involved.
Oh, yeah.
And then the line.
So it's not about getting rid of the accept. It's about getting rid of the acceptor.
Eventually, but first of all, but accepting is an important step towards getting to where you're getting rid of the acceptor. I mean, you're not going to drop this identification in personal sense until you've dropped all the stuff you're working out behind. Because, well, attachment. Let's just say. I mean, I was about to say love, hate, fear, and desire, but the fact is that you will not drop yourself until you've dropped all your attachments, because that's where you're working out and keeping yourself here. Okay? And when you've dropped all your attachments, that's would be a perfectly good definition of acceptance. If you're not attached to anything, then or primarily, being not attached to anything means being not attached to how things should be. Your idea of how things should be, and that's a pretty good definition of acceptance. Letting things be the way they are. And yes, there is another step where we earn that.
I have a bit of an experience with acceptance that it doesn't feel like what I want it to feel like. Right? I feel like nothing. But it doesn't feel joyful. It's just
Yep, acceptance has nothing to do with joy.
but I want to experience joyfulness.
Have the exact same experience.
But are you accepting the fact that you don't?
There you go.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
No.
No.
No, I want to.
Right. There's this feeling of detachment. It's just like,
Keep there, keep at it. It feels different at first because we have such a history of, attachment implies drama.
right.
So we have such a history of drama that when the drama is gone, it certainly seems like something's missing.
Yeah.
And the joy will not come because you're unattached, but actually, because isn't the right word, but joy will bubble up all by itself. It will start happening.
How does that relate to the idea that when mind isn't, consciousness is? Is joy bubbling up when there's no mind that's active and thinking? As a result of
Joy bubbles up. It's hard to say.
Robert says that's what I am. I am happiness. That's my natural state.
Sure, and Rashneesh said that too.
No mind.
The default is happiness. But the joy is an experience that just comes up. I mean, it's a physical experience, although it's a spiritual reality. It's much more than happiness. Happiness is always because of this or that or the other thing. I distinguish the two words. I think of happiness in the 3D world as I'm happy because of this and I'm happy because of that. That kind of thing is happiness, and all we want to be is happy, which means we just want everything our way. Joy is not because of anything except the realization of my existence. Okay? Or the perfection of everything. When you're seeing perfection, the first time I felt joy, it was fun. I was riding my motorcycle one day. I guess I was just going into the valley. I was riding the motorcycle, and for some reason everything was perfect, and then the temperature was right, and the buzz of the air on my arms, on the hair on my arms was right, and the sun was right, and we didn't have to wear helmets back in those days, and it was just perfect, and it startled me because this feeling of joy started way down in the groin and just came bubbling up, and all of a sudden I'm just giggling and laughing, and it's just perfect, And apparently I'm not paying attention to my speedometer, and I get pulled over by a cop, and he's writing me got out his book, he's going to write me a speeding ticket, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, no, it's all so perfect, this can't be happening. And his radio goes off and he gets called to go take care of something, and he just hands me back my license and disappears, and he couldn't give me a ticket because I was aware of the fact that it was all perfect, It's just really fun to watch. So that just comes up all by itself, and you can't force it, you can't set it up, but when you're aware of the perfection of things,
which means the mind is not.
which means the mind is silent, yes. Then joy bubbles up, or whatever you want to call that. And then now it's different between joy and bliss, I suppose we scaled down.
All right, I guess that's the flatness is my mind being aware of all this stuff, not getting invested in it, but being aware of it, and sort of being disappointed that it's not getting invested in it.
Yeah, well, it's not, the mind is,
it's mine.
the ego is, totally dependent on drama. So the ego is the one that's unhappy about this situation because it's probably feeling useless, which is true. Okay, the next principle is consciousness is the only creator. That's really pretty self-explanatory, given what we've already done. So anybody want to say anything about that? Is it not? Is it obvious to everyone?
Is that playing with there's no cause?
Yeah, it really does, doesn't it? Consciousness being all there is and the only power must be the only creator. Knowing that and knowing that what is did not create any disharmony establishes the foundation for knowing that the appearance of disharmony is illusion, hypnotism, unreal. Okay. The other thing is if consciousness is, that's a good point that Joe had, if consciousness is the only creator, then how can anything else be a cause? Because the cause is, by definition, creating the effect. Okay? So if consciousness is the only creator, how can anything else be a cause? And I've been so aware now for a while, I can't possibly stress too strongly the breakthroughs that will come when you finally realize the obvious fact that there is no cause and effect. And I don't think we'll do that tonight. Maybe we'll get there. But if consciousness is the only creator, then consciousness is the only cause. Okay? And that means there are no creators or causes out there and the effect. And what we're seeing is the effect. Everything we see is the effect. So there can't be any causes out there. There can't be any sources out there. We can't possibly get anything from out there. We can't get our needs met from out there, our illusory needs. Because if we can't have any needs, but if we think we have a need, if we think we have a need, still it's absurd to expect to get it from the material world, get it met from the material world, because there are no causes out there. It's all effect. It's all effect.
You can't get love, you can't get validation, nobody can do anything to you, nobody can do anything for you. That's all story.
All story. And that's
98% of what everybody thinks about all day long.
the interesting implication of that is that it implies that there's no possible reason to think, since thoughts and conclusions can't possibly have any effect on anything, right? People keep saying, well, you got to think about some things, and the fact is that it can't possibly have any effect on what is and what's going to happen or anything like that, you know, so there is no possible reason to think about anything, which may take some of the pressure off this squirrel in the cage up there.
You're preaching on my favorite subject.
Yeah, that's the killer. That's the one that really does the work. Yeah.
One of the things that really helps me with the
Where's the phone? What's over there? Sorry about that.
one of the things that really helps me with like witnessing thoughts, you're kind of stepping back from them, is just when I first heard you start talking about world mind and universal parent and that kind of thing, and things like advertising, things like that, like the idea that this thought that I can see going by wasn't generated by me necessarily. I mean, this thought exists in the Leelaa, but it's not, literally not mine.
And it can't be generated by you, because that would make you a creator.
Wow.
And yeah, that stuff quiets me down a lot to realize that this is, there is no person thinking this thought. And, that thought is just in that some river of cracks going by.
Now you're going to the core of the ego. Because the illusion of the ego is primarily the result of claiming to be the author of the thoughts and the doer of the actions. Okay? I mean, that's what the ego really is. I thought this, and I'm doing this, and I'm this, and so that's why getting the cause and effect thing is a huge step towards busting the ego. Because it's favorite pedestal, just as Joanne would say, nothing here. Here's the ego. Nothing there. Yeah.
Well, that seems to tie into the flashcard. I don't have to do anything.
That's right. It can't possibly have any effect on anything, can it?
But I hear it, but that seems to have to do with I don't have anything to do with the Leelaa. I don't have to do anything in the Leelaa. Is there not one thing I can choose to do, and that's be aware, choose to turn away and focus on awareness and consciousness? Is that I mean one thing that, in so to speak, that I can.
That's so funny you should say that. Robert says, so to speak, that
that's what Robert says.
Only one thing you can do is that.
Yeah, that's what Robert says. And I don't believe it.
Other times he says there's no choice. So he was speaking to a certain crowd that night.
Yep.
Is that what happened? certain crowd?
I don't know. I heard him say that several times, but he never said it to me.
Yeah.
And I don't buy that. My experience is that there can't, who
Right.
can make that decision
Right.
is the question.
Right. This is yours.
Who is it that you think can choose to go within?
Well, my ego still wants to do so. There's some stuff to do. Even if it's only that.
Oh well. All right. Now, Joe's second most important word is as. Yeah, let's go a lot longer. We'll get through this bit. And it's as in what is appears as individual consciousness. Okay? What does that mean? What does it mean? Is appearing as individual consciousness. What's individual consciousness? In fact, impersonal individual consciousness. What is impersonal individual consciousness? What part of my consciousness is the impersonal individual consciousness, and how is it distinguished from all there is consciousness? The all there is consciousness, the choice of separateness, pure awareness.
That's meant to explain something in the Leelaa, right?
Huh?
That's meant to explain something in the Leelaa.
Mm-hmm.
Me. An
Well,
impersonal expression.
No.
How about like the
It depends on where you're drawing the line on the Leelaa. Even. Let's leave that for a minute.
the trunk of the tree or the branches of the tree? I mean, it's still one tree, it's just that you have like these branches that are...
Yep. They think they're branches.
Yeah.
Belief.
Mm-hmm.
It's me.
It's the little I, but it's not really, because notice the word impersonal. Individual consciousness.
Right, I imagine like there's this I, but then there's a me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the I. The I is the me is back here.
Mm-hmm. Well, get the three. Remember the three levels. There's myself with the small s, and there's myself with the capital S, and there's the self, all caps. Okay, get those three levels.
So it's the middle one.
It's myself,
Right.
the capital S. Yes. It's,
Spiritual adjustment. I'm me.
and what does it mean that it's impersonal?
The same self as every other self. There's one self.
That's the capital S self. But the individual, impersonal individual consciousness.
Well, you get at it when you talk about it, so to speak, past lives, that there's something there that is conscious, whether I'm male or female or in this country or that country. This is something that is impersonal to all that, and it's always there and it's still here.
Exactly. That's the consciousness that was, so to speak, born ignorant, or that was represented in the Leelaa as born ignorant, and which has been growing in awareness lifetime after lifetime in this Leelaa game of growing consciousness, of growing awareness. And the point is that the consciousness that I am, and that's the spiritual being, or that's what the people mean by the word soul, or the Christ, or whatever. That being, all the stuff that we call personality is in the role it's playing in this lifetime. Okay? All the personality is in the role this lifetime. The male, everything about me is personality. And last lifetime, I may have been a black female. And the time before that, I might have been, who knows what, but endlessly. And we come back in different lifetimes, in different bodies, in different colors, in different religions, in different sexes, but nonetheless, it's what I call I when I say I now. Just like I'm aware that the I that I am now is the I that I was when I was 5. Okay? There's no discontinuity in that I. That's who I am. Okay? And yet, the personality of the 5-year-old and the personality that's here today are totally distinct. There's not a thought in his head that was in the 5-year-old's head. There's not a mannerism or characteristic, almost probably, that was in that kid. And there's not a cell in this body that was in that kid's body. I mean, literally every cell has been replaced 8 or 9 times. And yet, it's very clear that I and this I mean, I remember when I was 5. Okay? And if you grab hold of Dulcie and go do a past life thing, it would be very clear that I was there in 1640, shoveling shit out of a stable or whatever I was doing there. That's the impersonal, okay? But it is individual because it's clear that it was I, and the other ones back there aren't I. So that's part of the creation, part of the expression of what is as this whole zoo.
Just wanted to ask, I think I've heard many times, grow consciousness, and we were just talking about it, that was started as falling out of the sea, but it's hard for me to hold things like it, that consciousness is.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Consciousness does not grow.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I know. And consciousness does not grow, and people misuse the word consciousness all the time. There's better is to use the word consciousness and the word awareness. And our awareness of the consciousness that we are expands through this process. Who we are is a given from day one. We are God. But our awareness of it awareness of that identity goes from essentially none at all to full realization. Okay? So it's the awareness that expands. But we get in trouble there too if we talk about choice of separate spirit awareness as being what there really is. The trouble is that the language isn't equipped to deal with this semantic problem. I'm tempting to stop there. I don't think we want to jump off the next one's sort of a new thing, so let's stop there. And we have time to talk for another 15 minutes or whatever you want to talk about, but I think we'll just stop there for tonight. That's plenty of principles, and it would be nice if we could spend 3 weeks on this instead of 2 or 1. So, jump in. Anywhere you want to go. Yeah?
Okay, when you get back to Joel's never accept appearances.
Okay.
Is that the same as Robert's all as well? Or is never accept appearances by Joel healed?
It's not the same as all as well. They're addressing different things, although they're certainly all as well is one of the results of never accepting appearances. The never accept appearances is a statement of the fact that you're not looking at reality. That you're looking at your concept of reality. It's a statement that this is a perceptual universe, that we're seeing nothing but our perception. So the appearance is not never accept appearances of disharmony, never accept appearances of harmony either. He would not say just never accept the appearance of disease, although that is part of healing, but he would also say don't accept the appearance of health. Because what you're seeing, I don't have a material body. Okay, I am a spiritual being, and I have a spiritual body, whatever that means in terms of spirit. But I don't have a physical body, and neither do you. None of us here has a material body. Okay? Material bodies Remember, matter is mind formed as matter. Remember back in chapter 2 we talked about matter is really mind formed as matter. Matter is just one of the expressions of mind. Thoughts are one way that mind expresses itself, and matter is another way that mind expresses itself. Like we can have water that's steam, and water that's water, and water that's ice. Okay, so this is the ice version of it. So it's not a reality. It's not an external reality there is in the material world. It's a concept in mind. It's a thought. It just has the particular thoughts that we have about bodies are five sense thoughts. The problem is that we always think about it visually. But it's just like watching a movie. If you saw a movie that didn't use all your five senses. I mean, if you watch a movie, all you really got is audio and video, and you get sucked right into it and believe it. And if they added smell and touch and taste to it, then you'd be here.
Pay $50.
Yeah. and you'd be here because that's what's happening here. In this movie, they've added the price is a lot higher. In this movie, they've
In Japan, they just added smell to movies.
I'm sure. So it's all, that's what it means, but the entire universe is perceptual. And what we're seeing is our concept. And to some extent, the image, matter that we see is formed by our particular, my own personal concepts, and to some extent, the matter that I see is formed by the universal cesspool of concepts. And by some extent, if I'm tuned into, I don't want to sound prejudiced against human consciousness, and if I'm tuned into God, then my concepts are harmonious concepts. If I'm tuned into KGOD, then my concepts become harmonious concepts. And the picture actually changes depending on where I'm tuned in, and that's the demonstration that the matter isn't really there. It's totally.
Now people ask the masters like a question, and then the masters will reply, well, that's the wrong question. You know what I mean? So like when you say, should I accept this appearance? I hear this voice saying, how aware are you of what is? You know what I mean? Like the question is how aware are you of what is? Not, what should I do about this appearance? The question is, what should I do with this appearance? Should I accept it? Should I reject it? Then my brain says, how aware are you of what is?
But we start where we are.
Yeah.
So for the concept of I don't have to do anything, that doesn't mean, I just want to make sure that I'm understanding this, that doesn't mean that nothing gets done.
No.
It just means that I don't have to do anything.
Right.
So things might be going on.
And you might do it.
The box there. Okay. Because I'm kind of watching a situation unfold. I'm trying really hard not to do anything.
But not doing something is a doing.
Oh.
Why?
Well, I'm not doing
You're
something.
restraining or you're resisting?
I'm not doing something.
So something is doing something. We're thinking.
What I'm doing is not doing it.
Not doing it.
I mean, actions are still going on, but I'm trying not to
I don't buy it. I don't buy it. It's not you.
or I'll just be aware if I feel like I have to do some action, but I know it's not going to result in anything, but my ego needs to do it. And
What you're going to do is whatever it is. And we're just talking about the extent to which you're taking possession of that.
because it doesn't matter what I do, it has no effect.
Can't. And it's already determined.
Right.
Ramana Maharshi said that enrays was determined before I took this body. And he means really that it was eternally determined.
Doesn't that tie into there are no problems?
So if I think there's a problem, I have to do something about it. There are no problems. I don't have to do anything.
Yeah, there's a lot more to there are no problems with that, but trying to do something that certainly ties into trying to do something about your problems. It doesn't relate to why there are no problems, but it certainly ties into the idea of trying to do something about your problems. Since there are no causes, you're not creative. It certainly carries into thinking about your problems, which is the source of the problems. I think we'll get to that one later. Undoubtedly one of these principles. Let's get quiet. That's a good first cut at these principles. We're cooking. Okay, thanks for coming. I love you all. Tell your friends to come get everything in their life screwed up.